Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better
boxes.
Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
Hey, first and foremost, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate Nicole and her team partnering with us to put this on. In full disclosure, Nicole does all of the planning. Not that anybody was probably shocked by all that, but she put all of this on. So thank you guys for being here. I know it's no small deal to leave the affiliate for a couple of days to come here and learn and hang out, but I'm glad you guys are here. So my name's Jason Fernandez. Everybody calls me Fern. 15-year affiliate owner. Been working for CrossFit for 11 years on seminar staff. One of my business partners, Ackerman, is over there. He's a little short guy, kind of jacked. Don't tell him that. We started Best Hour 2019. We just hit record and started a podcast, and then that snowballed into many other things. And now what we do is we help affiliate owners build better boxes. So what we're going to walk through today is this idea of from planning to profit. And when we say PVBs, those are perceived value builders. But how do I take those strategies and then leverage that into my future success is really the point of what we're trying to outline when we do this. No, don't do that. Technology. So if just so you guys know, we are in the Affiliate Partner Network. If you do affiliate you, or if your coaches or anything like the knowledge, it is available for CEUs. So raise your hand if you have your level 3. Good for you guys. Well done. Yeah, look at that. And full extension of the elbow, which is most important there. So, but we are available for CEUs. So when you participate in that or the coach development course, like you can continue that credential moving forward. This is really what we're going to be addressing here. And most affiliate owners, again, I'm still running my affiliate, reactive in nature. So how many of you guys at some point during the year, or maybe even like this morning, you're like, oh shit, I need to do a t-shirt launch. You're like, Murph is in like 60 days. I should probably plan for that. Yeah, I see a lot of giggles and guilty faces. Yeah. So ultimately, how do we get out of this, oh shit, I need to do something stage, and then move into a more strategic version of that? And as somebody who doesn't really like to plan, you have to understand the benefit of planning. And because here's what I do like, and I know that you guys like it as well. I like to do things well. So if you understand the value of planning, then you can understand how that will help you do things well. Okay? So that's really what we're going to dive into today. So a couple years ago, I made this hierarchy, and this is stolen from the theoretical hierarchy for the development of an athlete. Okay? And if we look at that pyramid, sales is at the bottom. Operations is right on top of that, marketing, coaching, service, and at the top is impact. I don't want to dive super deep into the pyramid right now. We've covered that quite a bit. But today, largely what we're going to talk about is the operations. Okay, we're going to talk about the operations because that's a huge component of planning when you're in the affiliate. I do want to address the bottom though. Okay, so the bottom of that is sales. Okay. Fundamentally, everything in your affiliate starts with a sale. That doesn't mean it's the most important thing in your business though, and this is really important to understand. Because any one of those 5 components can be the most important thing depending on what you've determined needs to happen in order for you to move the needle. However, sales creates the most stability inside of your business. That's what you need to understand about the pyramid. It's not that sales is the most important, it does create the most stability. Because if you're like me and many other affiliate owners, there's only a couple things that keep you up at night. One is, did the fucking 6 p.m. coach lock the door and turn off the AC? Right? And the other one is, are we going to be able to pay rent next month and cover payroll? Okay? And having an understanding like, hey, if I can get the sales component done, it creates a really stable base for everything else on top of that. And then you'll spend the rest of your affiliate owner career bouncing all over this pyramid and focusing on different things. Okay? But today, this falls squarely in the operational component. It does have some overlap into the sales piece though. Now, when we're planning for success, what are some of the goals and objectives? Number one, establish clear, measurable goals, very much like CrossFit. We don't walk in randomly and put workouts on the board that have no rep ranges, no weights, none of that stuff. It has to be a very defined objective on the outset if I'm going to move in the direction that I want to go. Okay? And a lot of people don't do this, but understand you can attach revenue targets to these things, and you should. Okay? How many of you guys put an immense amount of work into events and planning that if you were to be very honest, bring you nothing in return? Raise your hand if you've done that. Everybody should raise your hand. Like, we've all done that, okay? Put on this big event, a competition, whatever, and I'm like, how much money did you make? And they're like, oh, we don't do it for the money. And I'm like, we need to talk, okay? And then understanding your audience, and this is the key component of this whole thing. When you're planning, you must understand your clients. You must understand your audience when you set this out, because it makes it so much easier if you understand who you are catering to. Then that parlays into the event conceptualization. What are the events or the series of things that I'm going to put onto the calendar throughout the year, and why am I doing that, right? So we're going to be crafting unique and appealing events and ideas that align to your gym's culture and your members' interests. And this is where the magic happens if you do this correctly, okay? And then again, establish your targets and beat the dips. And this is important. How many of you know off the top of your head, hey, usually there's a month in the year where we don't have great revenue? Raise your hand if you know that month. Cool. And then every year, what do? Nothing. We're just like, I guess March just sucks, and then we'll move on to April, okay? Planning will help you avoid that, and this is what we call beating the dips. You can craft your plan throughout the year to either buffer or avoid that altogether, right? If I know that month is gonna suck, what would I do? Oh, I would put something that's going to bring me extra revenue right in front of that so I don't have to have that shitty month. Now, this is really important. I want to expose this myth first because this drives me absolutely insane, and I was a believer in this myth for a very long time as well. It's the box building myth, meaning how do I build my box? And this is an attention matrix, meaning like where do you spend all of your time and attention as an affiliate owner, okay? And most people think, hey, I need to spend all of my time in marketing, right? I need more leads. I need to come up with better offers. I need to make these high ticket sales. And then I have the sales over there, which is the actual component of selling. And then I've got operations, and I forgot to label that yellow one, but that yellow one is like your service, okay? And that's fundamentally not how you build a sustainable long-term business. How do I know that? Because there's no shortage of gyms that have run crazy campaigns, and I know many of them, and I'm like, hey, how much revenue did you do in front-end sales last month? Oh, then I did $15,000 in front-end sales last month. And I said, okay, well, by that logic, in 5 months, you should be $1 million gym, correct? They're like, yeah. I'm like, are you running $1 million? They're like, no. And I'm like, then that shit doesn't work, okay? Front-end sales, absent of the other things, is not a sustainable business model. I'm not poo-pooing marketing or sales. I'm just highlighting that if that is where all of your attention goes, you're creating a different problem for yourself. I'm all about some marketing, okay? I'm all about media. Shit, Best Hour is basically a media company, okay? It has tremendous value, okay? But there's other components to that need to happen as well if you want to be able to leverage it correctly. The reason for that is it's broken, okay? And we've all seen it. A gym that was like doing crazy sales in the front end, and a year later they're closed. I'm like, why are they closed? They were doing $20,000 a month in front end sales. That makes no sense, okay? Time allocation and prioritization is the issue. This is much more of what it should look like. So I want to talk to you guys about the 50-50 model, okay? And this is really important. The 50-50 model, that right side is service. More specifically, your coaching, what happens between 0 and 60 in your classes every single day. That comprises 50% of your business. Not 49, 50. At a minimum, 50%. Okay? You must have that shored up. Everything on the left side, the sales, the marketing, the operation, Those should all be built to support the service. The service is the thing that keeps people around. The service is actually the thing that separates you from everybody else. Your ideal clients at your gym are the ones that come up to you, they're like, God, the coaches here are great. Does anybody have any of those clients? And when they tell you that, and I'm like, can I just duplicate you 100 times? And then I would never have a problem in my gym, right? And it's because those people understand service, okay? Now, they're probably zealots about CrossFit, but if you're really good at this, your service is obvious, even if somebody has no context, right? People understand service. They understand timeliness. They understand that coach hit every single person, all 25 people in the class, and they used their name, and they ran a good timeline, right? And they fixed their knees because they think that squatting with their knees touching like this is okay, okay? That's where we have to focus, and we're not putting enough time on that side of the spectrum. It doesn't mean we ignore the other things. It just means that that's our biggest lever. Because we all know that word of mouth is the #1 sales tool that any business has. All of you bought something because somebody else told you it was awesome. The end. We don't need to talk about it any further. That's what you want to build inside your CrossFit gym. So this is kind of what it should look like, right? I want the service to allocate 50% of my time and attention, and then I'm going to split my time and my attention and my resources across the other ones. Now, this is not absolute, right? I made this just as a visual because, again, when we go back to that pyramid, sales is the base. It creates the stability. It doesn't mean it's where I put all of my focus all the time, right? If you've got a killer team over here, right? You've got level 3s, level 4s, level 2s that are just killers on the floor. Your service is good, right? It doesn't mean that that's where all of my time and attention goes. It just means that that's 50% of the lever that I get to pull on to leverage the sales, the marketing, the operations in order to grow my business. And when you understand that, what happens is you wake up every day and your priority list starts to change. And it's not like, hey, how do I get more leads? It's like, hey, we need to run better classes, right? We need to run better classes, and we need to have a better plan so that we can ask, very, strategically for a referral, and that person's gonna have no problem saying, absolutely, I've got 3 people in mind. And you cannot do that if your service gets no attention. And all of us can spend more time here. All of us, myself included, have multiple level 4s in my gym, multiple level 3s at my gym. We can spend more time here. So how do we course correct here? #1, understand your members. #2, identify your perceived value builders. And then #3, you take that and you plan your year just like you would a lesson plan. And if you're not doing those, shame on you, okay? And I like to use the lesson plan because it paints a very clear picture that all of you already understand on how I would strategically plan out my year. So let's talk about our members. Every CrossFitter likes at least one or multiple of these 3 things inside of the affiliate. If you canvas every single one of them, you're only going to get 3 answers. That's it. #1, they're there for the community, right? They love the people. They are people, right? They show up early to every social, right? They stay late. They help you plan. They do all of that stuff. They buy all your gear. They cannot wait to rep your brand. They just are social animals, and they love it. They stay late after class. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You have a name and a face in your mind right now, okay? They love that aspect of the affiliate. #2, they love training, right? These are the people that are just like, they know every person in your gym that made quarterfinals, right? Everybody made quarterfinals, just spoiler alert, right? 25% is basically everybody, okay? Right? They love the games. They know what T is doing right now, right? They have like a weird live feed of her for some reason, okay? All right? But they're just really into training, right? Maybe that's their phase of their CrossFit life, and that's just what they gravitate to, okay? They're into the programs. They want you to run workshops. They can't wait for the weightlifting seminar. They love that kind of stuff. And then #3, they just like stuff. Right? They just like things. They like walk in your gym and they're like, oh my God, an air runner, like take my money, right? They like the things. Okay? So we have to know what our clients and what our potential clients would like. And then if we know that, now we can make our plan based on that. And I'm not just making a plan out of thin air, which is what most of us do. I'm like, hey, show me your calendar. I'm like, why is that there? And I'm like, seemed like a good month. I don't know. Like somebody made a suggestion. Okay. We need to be strategic about this. Okay. And I'm going to walk you guys through how we're going to do that and why being strategic about it is so beneficial to you as to you as a box owner for your time, your attention, and your stress levels. It's really important to understand these components. Okay. So this is just a lesson plan. Okay. How many of you guys write these on a regular basis? Okay. If you're not, you should be. I don't care if you're really good at coaching, you should still write a lesson plan. Okay. And I bring that up because if you've ever written a lesson plan, even a shitty one, you have the skill set to plan your year. That's it, right? If you understand a 0 to 60 timeline, you understand a January to December timeline. That's it. All you need to do is start filling in the gaps in the big ticket items. So this is the important part. You fundamentally cannot run a great class without a lesson plan. It cannot happen. I've never seen it happen, and I would argue it's never gonna happen. You're just gonna walk in randomly with no plan whatsoever and smash that class, okay? You also cannot run a sound business without a plan. You might get by, right? You might have an okay year. You might do a couple things halfway well, but you're not gonna thrive, and you're not gonna be moving intentionally in the direction that you wanna go. And that's the point, intention. Intention matters. Because if I'm writing a lesson plan for the class and I know that my drop dead start time for the workout is 33 minutes, I'm proceeding through the whiteboard, through the general warm-up, through the specific warm-up with intention to get where I want to go at 33 minutes. And if I find out that I'm off my timeline, I've got one or two choices. I can continue with a messed up timeline, or I can make the decision to make the adjustment to get back on track. That's where the intention comes in, okay? So if you understand that, we can use that to our advantage, okay? So here's how you work through this process. You start with your pillar events. And these pillar events are akin to things like the whiteboard brief, the cool down, when the general warm-up starts. To give some examples, the pillar events are the really big things throughout the year, the things that you know are gonna happen. Your gym anniversary, holiday parties, the open, Murph, the things that every year, oddly enough, just surprise you, right? Like your insurance quote and your affiliate fee. You're like, fuck, again? I'm like, yeah, every year, man. Like, let's plan for it. Let's make this happen, okay? We know when those are gonna happen, so we just have to plan them out. And I wanna stress this, it doesn't have to be stressful. It shouldn't be. You write enough lesson plans, they're not stressful anymore. You plan this out even a handful of times and it's not stressful anymore. Okay. So just to create some correlations, whiteboard brief, maybe that falls in the same timeline as the open, right? That happens at the beginning of the class. The open happens at the beginning of the year, okay? After that, the gym anniversary, that's the warm up, right? But again, you can move these around whenever. But I start with the big ticket events. And my recommendation to you is like, you don't have 12 big ticket events at your gym. You've got 4 on the high end. On the high end. And when I say big ticket events, these are events that are going to take a lot of time and energy for you to execute. The open, that's one. That's a 3-week evolution. It's a lot of time and energy. Your gym anniversary, okay? Whether you're doing that off-site or whether you're doing it at the gym, whether you charge for it or not, it takes a lot of your bandwidth and emotion and attention, okay? Those are the big ones. Those are the things that happen every year, no matter what. That's where I start. Just like when I'm writing my lesson plan. Hey, we start at 0, we end at 60. Whiteboard brief needs to happen here. I got to start the workout right here. The cool down needs to start right there. Those things are non-negotiable. That's what these are. Then you start to fill in the smaller events, right? So for those of you that have been through that whole lesson planning ordeal, right? You don't start with this super beautiful Denise Thomas written lesson plan, right? You start with like, hey, there's 4 things on your lesson plan. I'm like, good job, Bob. Like, we just need those 4 things, okay? Then, as you get better at, then you start to fill in with the smaller things. Then I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a bring a friend week here in this time frame. Then I'm like, oh, I need to do an apparel drop right here. I'm like, okay, we're going to run a nutrition challenge that Nicole taught us how to do over here. And when I lay all those out on a timeline, visually, they will either make sense or they won't. Because if everything is right here, you have a problem. And then what will happen is you put them on that timeline, you look at them just like you would on your lesson plan. I'm like, well, I can't put the general warm-up and the specific warm-up and the workout on the same timestamp. It doesn't work. So then I start to move them around strategically to create space, right, for me so that I can execute them appropriately. Okay? So again, if you know how to write a lesson plan, you can plan your year. And even if this was as far as you went with your plan and you just looked at that and all of this correlated with a month, you'd be better off than you were last year. So again, I want you to understand this doesn't have to be super complex. You can get crazy complex with this if you want to. And I would argue you will do that if you do this enough years in a row. You start looking at the calendar like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but it doesn't feel super difficult at that point. You're like, oh, that's just the timeline for the lesson plan. Like, yes, I was going to do a 7-step progression in there because I've done this 1,000 times. So just to give you guys an example, this is a little bit small, so I'll read them out to you, but this is my gym, CrossFit Rife. I'm going to give you all of Q1 and Q2 of this year as it stands right now, okay? January, bring a friend week. We charged our annual equipment fee in January. We did an apparel pre-order. We had a 2K row challenge inside the gym for that month. And that was all the events that we ran in January. Okay. February, CrossFit Open kicks off at the end. Okay. We did a facility project where we did a whole revamp of the sauna room and we painted all the bathrooms. And then we did a nutrition workshop at the end of February as well. Move over to March. Open is still going on. And we did a partnership with a local physical therapy company that we've had for a long time where they came in and they did free screenings for everybody on a Saturday. Okay. That's Q1. Q2, April, this month, 5K run challenge for the month, right? And when I talk about these challenges, you guys know how Rogue does all their challenges every single month? Yeah, I just co-opted that idea and we run them internally inside our gym. Okay. Bring a friend week again in April, and then we're doing Mannion, which is a Hero WOD fundraiser. The Mannion team is coming in town and they're gonna be like popped up and posted up at our gym on Saturday for that. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. He was a friend of mine and a classmate. Okay, so we're going to be hosting that fundraiser. Okay. May, we do our annual crawfish boil every year in May. I'm from Louisiana. I live in Virginia Beach now, but like I order crawfish. It's a paid event. We do jambalaya, beignets. It's a party. We get a DJ, the whole nine. Okay. Murph is at the end of the month. We're going to coincide that with a huge apparel launch. Right? We're putting together bundles for Murph items, right? It's like beer koozies, t-shirts, hats. We're launching that for Murph. Anybody, how many of your members like to buy shit for Murph? All of them, 100%. Why would I not place something strategic there in order to leverage that and put our brand on everybody? Because I know they're going to buy it. And then we have a weightlifting meet in May as well. Okay? We have a big weightlifting component inside of our gym. They run multiple events throughout the year. We move over to June. We're hosting a competition in June. And then we're going to do a summer apparel launch. Okay? Tanks, crop tops for guys, of course, and t-shirts and stuff like that. Okay? So you guys get the idea of how you would lay this out. Now, here's the deal. It didn't start with all these things going on. Right? It started with just the basics. Hey, let's just do the crawfish boil really well. Hey, by year 5, the crawfish boil is a non-issue anymore. Right? I know exactly what I need to order. I've got people that are helping me. We have all the resources for all of that. Now it's just fun. Okay. So just to give you an idea of what that would look like. And if you notice as I'm working through all of that, each month, not every single time, but all of these events fall into one of those 3 categories. Social, training, or they like stuff. Every single time. And when I'm looking at those events, I strategically look at them and I'm like, hey, do we have too many of this flavor of that event in this time frame? And I'm going to let you guys in a little secret. The majority of the events at your box probably fall directly in line with what you like the most. It's called biased, okay? Just like your programming, right? You're like, how do we have thrusters 7 times this month? I don't know, like, apparently you like to program thrusters, I don't know. So if you know that you are susceptible to that bias, how would I combat that? Well, I would know that I would need to have a good variance. You guys see how I like to pair everything back to CrossFit? Across those events. Because if you like the socials, and by the way, if you're young in this game, you do a lot of parties. Social events are at a high frequency. And you get a little older and you're like, that shit hurts, let's do less of those, right? You have to know that, right? So in understanding that, like, yes, that's what I like to do, but not everybody likes the parties. Some people just like the training events or they want nutrition. Some people think that your bathrooms are dirty, right? And they're like, hey, you should probably paint that. It's disgusting. You're like, that's fair. We'll do that, okay? So knowing that will help you avoid only appealing to one sliver of the population that is in your gym, okay? Because I want to make everybody happy. And if I'm making them all happy, they stay. Who would like your members to stay? Yeah. I've never met a gym owner who's like, I'd prefer to get rid of all of them. Yeah. Okay. So I want them to stay. If I want them to stay, I need to create things that would make them stay. So they should always be looking forward to something else. And there's 2 significant pros of planning this way, and this is really important. If you understand the benefit to you of this, you're more likely to do it. First one is you can promote it properly, and you can avoid this, which is most of us. It's like, hey, I've got an idea for an event. It's gonna be amazing. I should plan it before I get busy. And then you're like, fuck, I forgot. Right? You have that conversation for the event in May at the staff meeting, and then April 15th comes around and you're like, I think we should probably do something for that event in May, right? And what happens is you can't promote the event properly, at which point there's no build up to it. People don't see or find the value in it. The event is subpar, and there's no reason to go to the next one. Okay? And I'm ultimately not providing the value to my members that I told myself I was going to do. Okay? So when you plan it out, you can promote them properly, and it's stress-free. If you have 6 weeks to plan this thing, because you're looking at the calendar, it's not hard. If you have 6 hours, it's a shit show, okay? We want to avoid that. The next one is the most important. The good idea fairy is one that you can avoid, because we've all sat in a meeting when somebody's just like, we need to do a fundraiser. We also need to do a competition. Hey, we need new shirts, right? And this is you over here, in this corner right here, hating your life because you're being reactive to everything, and every idea that gets thrown at you now occupies space. And we've all lived that life. When that member walks up to you and it's just like, hey, it's National 3-Legged Dog Month, and I'd really like to host a fundraiser at the gym. And you're like, I guess we're doing that now, you know? I like dogs, you know? And the important part about that is, if we already have our plan that is built with our intention, you get to do this. You get to say no, and you get to say no with authority. Hey, Rocky, I know that you like 3-legged dogs. I also like 3-legged dogs. We just don't have space in the calendar. We already have 3 events this month. That's an easy no. A not easy no is when they catch you off guard and you're like, hey, it's 3-legged dog month. And you're like, we don't have shit going on this month, and now I have to say yes to this event because Rocky likes 3-legged dogs, and I don't care, okay? And being able to say no based on your priorities is one of the most important muscles that you will ever learn to train as a business owner, and quite frankly, as a person, okay? You have to be able to say no. And it doesn't mean you have to be mean. It just means like, hey, we don't have space for that. We can consider it maybe for next year. Or like right now, we've got the priorities, we've got the events. We just don't have the time, space, or resources to squeeze that one in, okay? So maybe next year, okay? And being able to say no is really important, because that person's idea had nothing to do with your plan for the year. They just had a random thought and threw it at you. I don't want to feel obligated to catch that bad idea. I want to be able to catch and be like, that's a bad idea, and I just give it back to them like, you can't do it. Now, this is where the magic happens. With all of this, how does this all help me grow my box? Right? You're like, okay, Fern, I get it. I'm supposed to plan. I know I should write lesson plans, but like, what's the catch? Like, what is the actual outcome that really is going to spark my interest? You create sales targets with these events because this is most of us, right? You're like, using events to make sales? That's brilliant. You're like, no, but I prefer this version over here where you're like putting tons of work and getting nothing out of it. I'm gonna keep doing that version, right? We don't have to do that. We can use all of that planning to facilitate our growth throughout the year and be, quite frankly, scary predictive while doing it. Scary predictive. What we teach in Affiliate University for all of our affiliates is net 3, okay? Net 3, month over month. Some months you'll be net 9. Some months you might net 0 or -1. That's a thing. But if on average, if I'm looking at a quarterly basis and I'm hitting net 3, you're in a really good spot. Net 3 over 12 months, I didn't go to math school, but it's 36, okay? Average client value of 150, which would be low for most of us, or should be. You're talking about an increase in $55,000 to $60,000 in annual revenue if you go net 3 every single month. Anybody here like not want that? You're like, no, I'm good, keep your money. Yeah. Of course you do. It's also sustainable. It's sustainable, that's the most important thing. I'm not trying to dump 20 people into your gym. Now, if you get 20 clients, like I'm gonna be the first one there rooting for you. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't want you to grow faster than that, but I'm saying if you do this, it works out every time. So how do I do that? If you look at this list, the Open, Bring a Friend Week, my gym anniversary, I'm gonna do an apparel launch here, I'm doing some sort of beautification project within the gym, nutrition challenge and a holiday party. Right now, I want you to take 30 seconds, I'm not even gonna give you a bunch of time. I want you to come up with as many sales or promotional ideas just with that list that I've given you, and I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. This is when it gets fun, okay? So when you plan this out, I guarantee you if you sat down and you did this for an hour, you would come up with no less than a dozen ideas on how you could attach that to bringing in new clients, leveraging my current clients to either help them get the results that they're looking for or give them the opportunity to buy more of my stuff that they want to buy at the gym. It's not going to be hard, I tell you that right now. You'll come up with a dozen ideas like that, okay? But you won't be able to do that unless you have this. Just like you won't say, I think I want to change this progression and try to use this one because I have a little extra time in this class for this workout because it's a shorter workout. It's the same thing. But wait, there's more. How many of you guys, this looks like your annual revenue where it's just fucking all over the place? Yeah. You go back and you look in push press and you're just like, man, that looks like a ocean wave, right? And then what do? Nothing. I kind of preface this. You're like, I guess December just sucks, right? And this is the old like, hey, what's the difference between these two? Nothing. They're the same fucking graphs, okay? And this happens to all of us, right? Like every year, and you're just like, we did it again. December sucks. You're like, hey, what's the definition of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Insanity. Okay? If we exercise that same logic within the gym and we never decide to do something about it, this is the bad part. That's on you. That's on you. But the good part is you don't have to do that every year. You don't have to just have a bad month. This is a concept in Jocko's book called The Enemy Gets a Vote. Okay? If you know that that probable event is coming, you get to vote on your actions as that event approaches you. You can do nothing or you can do something. And I'm not even suggesting that it's going to go well, but the point is you would do something. And that's what we call beating the dips. If you know where the dips are, start looking at your calendar, and when you go lay things out, be like, hey, what would be great to not have a shitty month in October? Let's put a bring a friend week in September and see if we can convert so that we can increase revenue in that traditionally or historically down month. I don't have to just take the down month. And even if you decrease the loss by 50%, would you be happy with that? Absolutely. Okay. If you get nerdy about this stuff enough, there's virtually nothing that you can't track and start to manipulate inside the affiliate. Okay? What I have found over the years is that if we use the concepts that we already know how to do with fitness, it becomes a lot easier. It seems less stressful and less laborious. Treat your calendar like your logbook, right? Whether it's a digital logbook and you're capturing your stuff in push press or Waterfire or whatever, look back at your past year and be like, hey, what happened last year? The number of years that have gone by that I did not take the time to look at the previous year to figure out what I should do this year is embarrassing. Take the time. And I don't mean a ton of time. Shit, if you looked at it for 30 seconds, you'd be like, you should probably do something right there. But take the time and analyze it, just like you would in your logbook. Like, hey, when you're writing program, like, hey, what did we do last week? Oh, we did this. What should I do next week? Oh, we should do this. Oh, we've not done any long, slow endurance in a long time. We should probably put that in. Okay. Do the same thing with your business, even if you go back one quarter. Okay. And you don't need to wait till January till this starts. Like, it's April right now. Plan your calendar from April to April. 12 months, and just go from there. So just a little bit of a recap. Identify the goals and objectives that you want to happen. And start small here, guys. Remember, when I first started doing this, I had this burden of like, I had to hit every metric that I would ever want to achieve in my affiliate with that singular year's plan. It's not real. Okay? So make the objectives realistic. Just be like, hey, I just want to get 2 events off, and I want them to be stress-free this year. That's a win. Because then what are you going to do the next year? You're going to add more to it. And I think sometimes we forget, just like our clients forget, that there's something called tomorrow. We're like, you don't have to win the workout today. You can train again tomorrow. And I think a lot of times we never look out past 1 year. Like, I only look at this year, and I'm like, forget this year. Let's project out 3 years. And if you got to where you wanted to be and you had all these killer events and everybody attended and your revenue was up 50, 100% in 3 years, would you be happy? Yes, you would. So give yourself a longer timeline, right? To work into it, because this will be a process. Okay? You're going to get a lot of things wrong. You're just going to randomly put things on the wrong time in the calendar because you don't know things. You're like, okay, that clearly didn't work out. What do? We move it. We put a competition in October. Randomly, everybody in the Eastern United States wants to do a competition on that same weekend. Got it. We're going to move it. Okay? So just because it doesn't go the way that you want it to doesn't mean it's a failure, because you very likely found something out. You're like, hey, why didn't it work? And I would argue not knowing why things don't work is more important than knowing why things do work. Okay? Because if I know why it doesn't work, I can just avoid that altogether. Understand the audience, right? What do your members like, right? Remember, they like the community, they like training, and they like stuff. Then create the events based on those things. And always ask yourself, like, what bucket does this event fall in? If it doesn't fall in any of the buckets, it doesn't mean you don't do it, but it means like, hey, does this really need to be here? And then establish your targets on that. Like, hey, how could I get 3 members off of each one of these events? Right? Be like, I don't know. How are we going to do that? I'm like, I don't know. This is the creative part. Try something. Doesn't even matter what it is. Because if you just got 1, you're in a good spot. Right? If you ran 6, 7 events throughout the year and you attached a 3-member goal to each one of those events, you'd be plus 21. That's not including any organic traffic to your website. This is me actively engaging outbound strategies to bring people in. Cool. So So we get into the sales pitch. I want to sell you guys a timeshare right now. So no, just what we do, guys. It's not going to be a hard sell, but I just educate you guys on what we do. So we create custom business design and coach development for our affiliates. What's unique about what we do is we take you and your staff, and we have multiple people. Raise your hand if you're either currently or have done or have worked with us. Feel free to talk to all of these people, by the way. Okay. We take you and your coaching staff, and we start to work with them in order to improve the affiliate. Designed for CrossFit affiliates by CrossFit affiliates. We do not work with non-CrossFit affiliates. It's not what we do. I don't care about anybody other than CrossFit affiliates. I wish them the best, but I don't care. Okay. It's group and one-on-one, so you can ask all these folks. It's a very high interaction pace with all the people that we work with, right? We don't want you waiting on us. We want you guys to get what you need out of this whole thing, okay? And we're gonna work with you until you get your money back, okay? It's important to us that you grow your affiliate and get what you want out of it, and we're committed to you guys in the long haul if you decide that you wanna work with us. A couple different things that you'll get inside of there. The average gym here that we work with, over the course of a year, will get about 25 people off of just that campaign alone. That campaign is free. You can use it. There's a course for it. That's a $45,000 increase in top line revenue. Something else we just launched was the apparel stuff. So I launched this in January. I spent 6 months last year solving this apparel problem, and we teach people how to do this. We give them a done for you scenario. We've already had people that have gone from selling nothing to $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Some people have done $10,000 a month in revenue selling merch, okay? I won't tell you the whole journey I went through to figure this out. You can cut out all the middlemen. You don't need people to make your designs. You don't need to have a t-shirt guy. You can create your own store, and you can still execute all of the pre-order stuff, everything. You can get better margins, by the way, all of it. And you have full control of it, which means you can plan it better. I've sold more merch in the past 6 months than I did all of the previous 18 months. And it was easy. The budget course, and this is, even though the dollar figure is not as big, this is probably the most impactful thing that we do for affiliate owners, right? I got a couple people nodding heads here, okay? I can tell you all of the most successful box owners that we work with have two common components, right? And this is to a person. They have a budget that they understand, and we see them on a regular basis. Those people get what they want. Financially literate business owners are more dangerous, period. And most of us are not financially literate, unfortunately, okay? This is one of the more impactful things that we've done, because most of the problems that you are gonna have, if I dig deep enough and I ask enough questions, come back to, what's the budget say? Learning how to use that strategically to your advantage is one of the more powerful things that you could ever do, not just as a box owner, as a human being that has money, okay? Understanding budget is really, really important. And you don't need to be scared of finances. And we have an in-house budget coach that helps, and Nick is amazing, and he's phenomenal at this. And there's no scenario that you can present Nick that he hasn't seen, by the way. You're like, I don't know, he hasn't seen a fucked up budget like this. I'm like, promise me, I promise you he has. For the weekend, we're gonna give you guys a special offer, $1,000 off if you guys wanna sign up. Just tell them you're referred by me, we're friends, okay? If that's the case. So if that's something you're interested in, my email's right here. You can email Marcus, who's Jay and I's other business partner. That QR code right there will put you on his calendar to set up a call with him. No obligation to set up a call, guys, but if you're interested, you want to know more, just set up a call, talk to Marcus. If it's not a good fit, he will tell you. I promise you. He's not going to be like, hey, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit. He's going to be like, yeah, this is not a good time for you. Listen, thank you guys for your time and attention. I appreciate it. I genuinely appreciate speaking to a captive audience. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to chat, I'm happy to chat with you guys. If you don't ask the question here, just catch me off on the side. Either today or tomorrow. I'm here literally to talk to you guys about whatever you want to talk about. And for anybody that's wondering, I'm not going to be presenting this tomorrow. I'm presenting something totally different tomorrow. I've actually never presented the same thing twice, and I'm not going to. So I'll be presenting something totally different tomorrow. Cool. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.